Okay, so we're going to look at another fighter with a bummy record, at least at the end of their career, Randy Smith. Now, Randy Smith fought a number of notable opponents in his day. He started off at middleweight and he moved up to super middleweight. So let's look at Randy Smith and his career and who he faced. And of course, the question is the same. Why did he face these guys? One of the first notable names I see here is Iran Barkley. Faced him at middleweight. And if you look at Iran Barkley's resume here, you'll see that Randy Smith is there. Randy Smith at the time was 15-4. That's not bummy at all. That's a pretty good record. He had a number of wins under his belt when he faced Iran Barkley, losing about 3 times or 4 times. Before that, 4 times. As you can see, Iran Barkley's his record was 11-3-1, so that was a good fight. Okay. Then he went on to face Michael Nunn, and Randy Smith was 167 pounds, so I guess this is a super middleweight at the time. And Michael Nunn, as you can see here, he had a unanimous decision win over him. And so Randy Smith had moved up, it seems, in weight class to face Michael Nunn, or he came in overweight, one of the two. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at Michael Nunn here, Randy Smith fought him when he was 15-7-0, and Michael Nunn at the time, he was 15-0. So the more experienced fighter was Randy Smith. Again, Michael Nunn on the come up, a prospect. Iran Barkley the same. Randy Smith was a prospect as well. But now he was fighting this other younger, sort of younger fighter coming up. Okay. All right, let's look at another one. Let's see who else we have here. Mike McCallum. Okay, so he actually faced Mike McCallum. And this seems to be at 171 pounds, which means this was actually at light heavy. Mike McCallum was well into his career. He was 33-1-0. Let's see what Randy Smith was. At the time, Randy Smith was 18-14-0. So he had lost a number of fights when he faced Mike McCallum. He was a journeyman, a bona fide journeyman when he faced Mike McCallum. And Mike McCallum beat him. And so Randy Smith was beaten by Mike McCallum, who was also experienced as he was. So again, so far so good. But I still don't understand why Mike McCallum fought him, but nonetheless, so far so good. So let's keep it moving. Then after facing Mike McCallum, he fought another notable name in Bernard Hopkins. Okay, he fought Bernard Hopkins, but before that, he fought Chris Eubank, and this seemed to have been at super middleweight. Chris Eubank was on the up and up, and Randy Smith was well into his career. He was a journeyman by this time, gatekeeper. And Randy Smith fought him and beat him. Then you have the last guy here, which was Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins faced him at super middleweight. And when we look in super middleweight here, Bernard Hopkins faced him. Randy Smith was 24-23-1, so he's definitely almost a bum here. And Bernard Hopkins was 16-1. So what I've noticed here is that Randy Smith was a gatekeeper. Basically, he was a gatekeeper for up-and-comers. He seemed to have lost his status as a prospect somewhere along the lines between fighting Iran Barkley and fighting Michael Nunn. And so you can see he was actually just a gatekeeper. He doesn't seem like he ever fought for any title shots, but he did fight some future champions, but he never fought a world champion. Okay. Now, why that's interesting to me, as you can see, his career was mostly losses. Only the beginning of his career he was winning, and then he started to lose and lose and lose and lose. What was interesting to me was the fact that I have footage on Randy Smith, and I can tell you he was a very good defensive fighter. And the fact that he was never knocked out in his career tells me he had certain skill sets which were available to him, which made him a very good opponent. And I guess all of these guys would have loved to be the first to knock him out. Probably like the other guys in the other era I talked about, who may have been looking for the opportunity to knock out Doc McClendon. So Randy Smith, in this case, he seemed to have been a sort of gatekeeper or a journeyman who up and coming prospects basically fought, except for Mike McCallum, who was a seasoned fighter who fought Randy Smith. So, even so, let me put the question to you again. Why do you think Randy Smith fought these guys, these future champions? Iron Barkley became a future world champion. Michael Nunn, the same. Mike McCallum became future world champion. Chris Eubank, future world champion. Bernard Hopkins, future world champion. Okay? Why did Randy Smith get that opportunity ahead of other fighters of his day? All right, so that's the question. You guys have a great one.